Right, let's take a look at this piece of tamborim, which we've got a little bit of work on it. We've been splitting skins on this thing, damaging them. You're supposed to play it with a little plastic beater, and we've been putting holes through it. And this tamborim has gone through about 3 heads in about 3 weeks. Shouldn't do that. It was a second-hand one. And I took it apart and looking at it, I don't know if you can see there, that's got a nasty dish in it. And I think what's happened is somebody a long time ago has been playing it with a drumstick, which is far too hard for this, instead of the nylon beater. So what we're going to do is take that dishing out. But we can't just hit it with a hammer because it's aluminium, and if you hit metal repeatedly, it work hardens and it'll crack. So what we're going to have to do is soften this aluminium with a process called annealing. Come into my kitchen. Okay, now the process of annealing is heating the aluminium, or heating any metal, to the point where the molecules kind of relax. Aluminium is, if you were doing it with steel, you'd heat it till you got to cherry red, and then you'd let it cool slowly. Aluminium's got a bit of a problem because it doesn't go cherry red. It'll actually melt before it gets to that stage. And since we don't want to melt this, we've got to use a little trick. With an ordinary bar of soap, what we do is we rub that bar of soap on there, like that. And then we're going to heat, we're going to heat that until it goes black at that point. And that's our bent part, and that will be at the same temperature. Here's a trusty pair of pliers, which I keep for all annealing emergencies in the kitchen. And I don't know how long this is going to take. There is another method of doing this where you can use an oxyacetylene torch, and then you get soot all over it, and then you heat it until the soot disappears. This is somebody else's tamborim. I don't want to break it, but I think we're going to be alright. Come on. The annealing temperature of aluminium is about 300 Celsius, and I'm waiting for this soap to go black, keeping it moving. I don't want to get a hot spot. You can do this, I'm told, with washing up liquid. It's starting to go brown. What this does is it loosens up the molecules in the aluminium. That's brown. Come on, I'm looking for black. And with steel, what you would do afterwards, you'd work it, you would anneal something, getting it cherry red, and then letting it cool slowly. And starting to go. And then you'd have to temper it afterwards by heating it and cooling it very quickly. Aluminium's a bit different. After you've done this, you just let it cool naturally, and then you've got about 5 hours because it re-hardens itself. That looks about done to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off, let this cool naturally, not burn my hands on it, and go beat it. Okay, 5 minutes later, here we are outside. It's Hertfordshire, it's winter, and it's cold. And just if you couldn't see it before, if I put that on a nice big flat block, can't get my credit card in round there, because on the bit we're dealing with, it dives straight in. So it's at least a credit card thickness. So, virgin. So what I'm going to do, I've made myself a little block, sculpted it a little bit to get it into that corner. Now we tap it back. Hopefully this aluminium is nice and soft now. this, didn't rehearse. And if I get scared, I'll just stop. Still not quite there. Getting there though, I think. Kind of scary, but wrong end. Oh, that's right, two ends. Okay, I think we made a few alterations to that, bit of hitting, bit of looking, checking, and I think, looking with my straight edge, that's about as good as we're going to get it. It's not perfect. It is rocking on there a little bit though. So what I'm going to do, there's no way I can completely unbend the whole thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this inside and use a stone across it just to try and get this flat, because you can see it's still uneven all around that edge. Not very nice. And what's been happening is the head's been sitting on there. Because it's not even, it's had pressure points, and that's what makes the skin split, is because the pressure isn't distributed evenly. So when you hit it, especially against the rim, it picks up on those high points. That's a pressure point, and it creates too much stress on that head, and that's what bangs it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to flatten that off and then polish it a little bit and then rebuild it. So let's go in and polish it. What I've got to do now is, because that's a little bit up and down, I'm going to flatten that off, and that will make the tension of the head nice and even over there, and I'll also just take off any sharp edges that I've managed to generate, and also it'll do a little bit of a mod while I'm here. This was formed, I don't know if you can actually see it on there, it's quite a rough surface on there, which I'm not too happy with, not too impressed with. So I'm going to polish that down and make that nice and smooth, so the head fits nice and flat on there and there's no pickup points, nothing for it to crack on. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a piece of, this is 120 grit, remember the aluminium is quite soft, so it'll cut through it quite quick, and a flat board. Just put that on there to keep it flat. Hope it don't make too much noise. And what we got? See, it's starting to clean off on there and on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my time on this, switch off the camera, take your time, and just grind that all flat so the head gets a nice flat surface to sit on. Off we go. Now I've skimmed that off. I use two grades. I use 180 grade and I use 120 grade. Sorry, 120 then 180. And also what I've done is I've used the sandpaper to round off that side in there, so there's no sharp corners, and just to back it off. And finally I went into with some metal polish, and you can see that's just a little bit shiny down there, just to bevel it over to make so there's no hard breaks in the metal. So there you are, all done and cleaned up, given a bit of a polish, and it's ready for its new head. Job done. I'll find out in a couple of weeks whether we're still breaking heads. Cheers, thanks for watching.